Just hang tight. I'm coming. 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 Ooh. It's hot, boys and girls. It says it's 98 degrees in this son of a gun. It says it's 98 degrees in here. 98 degrees. In the shop. Now, I ain't got no fans or nothing on. I'm doing a little bit of, yeah. Ooh. All right, hang tight. Hold what you got. All right. I've been on the phone all morning. All morning. Fucking fly. All right, let's see who's in here. Let's see who's in here. I got my phone charger plugged up. TJ, Elko, Chris, Newcomb. What's up, Lee? About time you sat down. Yeah, I know, right? Oh, I know. Look, look. So I'm not sitting down long just for a minute. I got to take my shoes off. My feet are hot. I got boots on today. I got boots on. I got my boots. Take these boots off a little bit, let my feet. Whew. Yep. I'm going to do like Chevy Attic and just sit in a car seat. Yeah, I said it. I'm just going to do like Chevy Attic and just sit in a car seat. Turn the camera to the side and eat and drink. So all you hear is, all you do is do. Yeah. Elko working on something? Elko, I'm going to have to go check out, see what Elko's working on. I got me a little razzle dazzle, Blue Crush. They made a movie about that, didn't they? All right, so let's get down to business. I have got so many, look, I'm not trying to be, Elko putting in work. I'm going to have to go check that out. Elko told me yesterday I was motivating him. He told me yesterday I was motivating him. 270 grams of caffeine. Just painted a transparent. Hey, that's motion, Elko. I don't even know how to say that, but I'm going to call you AA. AA, welcome to the channel. Hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. 270 milligrams of caffeine. Son of a bitch. Where are you from? I'm from my daddy's nutsack that went into my mama's belly, and then 9 months later, here I be. That's where I came from. That's where I'm from. That's where I came from. I have got so many, look, I'm not trying to be conceited. I'm not trying to be arrogant. Hey, TJ, I drink about 2 or 3 of these a day. I drink about 2 or 3 of these a day. It's a wonder my heart don't explode. But you know what? My blood pressure, the other day I had a physical, my blood pressure was 126/67. That was my blood pressure. 126/67 was my blood pressure. So, I'm not trying to be conceited. I'm not trying to be an asshole. I'm not trying to be anything like that. I'm not trying to be arrogant. I'm not being nothing. But it seems like every time I go in the booth and lay down some paint, my phone goes crazy. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It goes crazy. I mean, crazy. Crazy over. Crazy. I mean, it goes bananas. It goes bananas. Well, I guess it's a good thing. So, I've had a lot of questions asking me, how in the world do you get, 1, how do you get the clear to lay down that slick? And 2, how do you spray that many coats without having any issues? So we are going to discuss that right now, all right? And we're not going to try to stay. We're going to try to stay on topic, all right? 1, airflow. You got to have airflow. You got to have airflow. Now, I'm glad I did it yesterday instead of today. Yesterday was raining, and the day is hotter than 2 rats in a wool sock. Today it's 98 degrees with no friggin' wind blowing. So I am so glad that I done everything I done yesterday and not wait till today, because I would be paying the price today. I would be paying the price today. So, yeah, recoat window. So, with that being said, so airflow, you need airflow. You need airflow, you need airflow, right? You need airflow. You need airflow, right? So, with that being said, and you're going to need the right reducer and the right hardener, and you're going to be able to have to wait for flash times. And flash times is like the 15-degree rule. I've done several videos of this, but I'm going to do a new one today. So, flash times is based on the temperature of the atmosphere, or the ambient temperature, and the temperature of the substrate, which would be the vehicle or whatever you're spraying. All right, so if it's 70 degrees and you're using 70-degree hardener and you're using 70-degree reducer, then your flash times are what is on the P sheet. So let's say you're spraying 2021 clear PPG, and it says at 70 degrees, 70-degree hardener, 70-degree reducer, you have 10 to 15 minutes flash times in between coats. That means that flash time starts when you start spraying, not when you finish, when you start spraying. So if I was clearing that fender and I started right there and I went all the way to right there and I cleared that whole fender, my flash time starts when I started spraying. When the product come out the gun and hit the panel, that's when your flash time starts, all right? So if it's 70 degrees, 70-degree hardener, 70-degree reducer, and I sprayed one medium wet coat, 50% overlap on that fender, my flash times are 10 to 15 minutes in between coats, right? Now, it depends on how heavy you spray and how light you spray, right? You want to spray it the way you want it to look. You want to see where you've been, not where you're going. A lot of people will spray and they'll look on, let's say they're spraying, they'll want to look where they're going. Now you got to look where you're going, but they want to concentrate where they're going, not where they've been. Because if I just take off and start spraying and I get to the end and I look back and it looks like Fido's ass, or it looks like orange peel or dry spray, then I'm going to have to go back and redo that. So you don't want to, you want to look where you went, where you were coming from, not where you were going. You want to spray it the way you want it to look, right? So, my hand's getting tired. So with that being said, let me get this box over here so I can set this phone down. So with that being said, you want to, there we go. Now we're talking. Now we're cooking with gas. So you want to have it where you're spraying, you want it to, the way you want it to look is the way you need to spray it. Right? Now this is going to take some practice. It's going to take practice, and more practice, and more practice. Right? So if it's 70 degrees, 70 degrees outside, the panel is 70 degrees, and you're using 70-degree hardener and 70-degree reducer, your flash times are going to be 10 to 15 minutes. Right? So That means when I start spraying, my timer starts. So you either need to get you a cooking timer, you need to get you a bell timer, you need to do something so you can keep track of it. So you know when you start. So let's say it's 15 minutes in between coats, right? And we got 70-degree temperature, 70-degree hardener, and 70-degree reducer, and we got adequate airflow, right? I don't care if you got 100 damn Walmart box fans. You got to have airflow going across, and you got to have airflow going out, right? So with that being said, let's say it's 15 minutes in between flash coats, right? So I put my first coat down, my timer starts, right? I go over there and I hit my timer bell at 12 minutes, but you just said our flash time was 10 to 15. Well, what's half of 5? 2.5. So let's just put it on 12 minutes, right? So I turn my cooker timer on, you set your timer over there, you take off. You clear your first fender, right? You get done. Your timer's sitting there. You want to get right back on it, but you can't. You have to wait. It's like chess, not checkers. So we're sitting there, right? And your timer's ticking. Tick, 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 tick. Ding! It goes off, 12 minutes. You go over there. Now you got a 2-minute window. This is how I do it in my head. I got a 2-minute window, right? I go over there, I check it in non-disclosed information, non-disclosed sections. Hold on a second, let me turn my phone. All right, I had to put my phone in do not disturb. So you want to check it in a spot where you're not touching the panel, right? So touch the tape, touch the paper. If you touch it and it's stringy, it's not ready. So if you touch the panel, not the panel that you painted, but like the tape or the paper or whatever, and you run your finger across it and you pull it off and it's stringy like cheese, it's not ready. If you touch it and it's wet and you fingerprint it and you leave your fingerprint in it like you just mashed, like put your foot in a mud hole in a mud puddle, it's not ready. If you touch it and it imprints and it doesn't leave hardly any track, it's ready to get back on it. That's that 2-minute buffer that I'm talking about. Then you get back on it, you do your second coat, I do 75% overlap. They teach you in school to do 50% overlap, but I would recommend doing 75% overlap. And the reason why I say do 75% overlap is because solvent-based paint is 50%. Waterborne paint is 75%. If you're going to spray candies, it's 75%. If you're going to spray pearls, it's 75%. If you're going to spray flake or metallic, it's 75%. So if you'll just go ahead and program yourself to do 75% overlap from the start to the finish, then you don't have to worry about going, what am I doing today? It's muscle memory and you don't have to think about it, right? It's muscle memory, right? So I get back on it, I touch it, it's good to go. I put my second coat on there. Now, I got my second coat on there. Now, I turn my timer down to 10 minutes, right? Now, so 10 minutes. It's still 10 to 15 minutes in between coats because we're using 70-degree hardener, 70-degree reducer, and it's 70 degrees in the booth. So we still have 10 to 15 minutes flash times, but I turn my timer down to 10 minutes. I go in there and I put my second coat on there, and then I wait. Soon, before I start, I turn my timer on. Timer's cooking, tick, 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 tick. I put my second coat of cleared on. I sit down, I don't leave, I just sit there and I watch it. When my timer goes off, ding, I go over there and I check the paper again. If it's mars up like a mud puddle, like a mud, it's not ready. If I touch it and it strings out and it's like string cheese, it's not ready. If I touch it and it just imprints, it's ready. Go on and put your last coat on there, which is your third coat. Put your last coat on there and you're done and done. All right? You go in there, you clean your gun out. You wash your gun, you clean your gun. You go back in there. If you got fine line tape or a soft edge tape or whatever you have, go ahead and pull that tape then, because what that'll let that do, that'll let that third coat melt over that second coat and you won't have no hard edges. Okay? That is textbook, in and out, done. All right? Now, let's say that it's 80 degrees outside and you got 70-degree hardener and you got 70-degree reducer. Now your flash times is cut in half. It's not 10 to 15 minutes, it's 5 to 7.5. Because half of 15 is 7.5. All right? Half of 10 is 5. So now your flash times are 5 minutes and 7.5 minutes. All right? So if you're using 70-degree hardener, 70-degree reducer, and it's 80 degrees in the booth, you still got adequate airflow, right? Yes, 98 degrees in here. Adequate airflow. Now your flash times is 7.5 minutes, 7.5 minutes to 5 minutes, right? So that's the flash times in between this time. So I go in there and I'm gonna spray that fender. Do the exact same thing. I turn my timer on 7.5 minutes. I start clearing. Put my first coat of clear on. Ding! I go over there and I check it, right? And if I press in a non-disclosed location, like on a piece of tape or the paper, not on the panel, and it mars up like a mud puddle, like a mud hole, it's not ready. If I touch it with my finger and it's stringy, it's not ready. If I touch it and imprint it just a little bit, bang. Right? It's ready to go. I go in there and I put my second coat on there, right? I put my timer on 7.5 minutes. I go in there and put my second coat on, ding! I go in there and check it again. I put my third coat on there and I'm done. That's with 70-degree hardener and 70-degree reducer at 80-degree temperature. Now, let's say it's 90 degrees in the booth. I got 70-degree hardener and 70-degree reducer. Now your flash times are cut in half again. So now it's not 5 minutes, it's 2.5 minutes. It's not 7.5 minutes. It's less than 3 3/4. All right. So you got you're cut in half again, and nobody is that fast. You'd have to go back to back, meaning you'd have to put. By the time you started when you go put your timer on 2.5 minutes, and it's 90 degrees in the booth, and you got 70-degree reducer and 70-degree hardener, you're looking for trouble. Now, I'm not saying you can't do it. I'm not saying that I've not done that before. I'm just saying you put the first coat on, you put the second coat on, you put the third coat on. That's wet on wet on wet, and you're done, and you walk out. By that time, I wouldn't even attempt to do it unless it was like a dire need that you needed to spray it, right? And if it's that hot and you got to spray something, then, I mean, if you're in a pinch, you can do it, but I highly wouldn't recommend doing nothing no bigger than a fender. I wouldn't do a bumper cover, I wouldn't do a door, I wouldn't do a roof line, I wouldn't do a deck lid. You could do a spoiler, a small spoiler, but I wouldn't use that clear. I would go to a speed clear. And a speed clear is 2 to 5 minutes, 2 coats back to back, wet to wet. Bam, bam, and done, right? Speed production clear, okay? Now, let's flip the script, right? Let's flip the script. All right. Yesterday, it was 70 degrees, right? It was 70 degrees, and I was using medium hardener, which is 80 to 85, and I was using 90-degree reducer. So flip the script, right? Let's say it was 70 degrees in the booth, and let's say I was using hot reducer, 90-degree reducer, and I'm using 90-degree hardener. And in the booth, it's 70 degrees. So it's 70 degrees, and the panel's 70 degrees. But the product that I'm putting on there is designed for 90-degree weather. So now, if my flash times were 10 to 15 minutes in between flash coats at 70, 70, and 70, now it's the other way around. Now my flash times are not 10 to 15 minutes. Now it's double. So it's 20 to 30 minutes. All right? So it's not 10 to 15. 10 and 10 is 20. 15 and 15 is 30. So now it's 30 minutes in between flash times, right? So if I go in there and I put my first coat down, right? Put my first coat down, I click my timer on in my head, or I look on my phone, 30 minutes. At 25 minutes, I check the paper, right? If the paper is muddy, like if I put my thumb in a mud hole and the clear spreads out, like I just stuck my foot in a mud hole, it's not ready. If I put my finger on it and peel it back and it's stringy, it's not ready. If I put it on there and it's fingerprinted, it's ready. I go in there and I put another coat on there, right? So now my flash times have increased just a little bit longer because now I know I'm going to stack at least 5 to 6 coats of clear in one session, right? That's what I'm about to do. So I go in there and I put my second coat on there, right? When I put my second coat on there, I know that my flash time is going to be 30 to 35 minutes before I get back on there because I'm trying to let this stuff gas off and breathe as much as possible as I can without any kind of issues whatsoever. So now I'm using 90-degree reducer, I'm using 90-degree hardener, and 70-degree temperatures. So that 15-degree rule is now doubled, right? So I don't have 15-minute flash times, I got 30 or plus, right? Then I go in there with my third coat. I put my third coat on there. Now I've increased my flash times again 30 to 40 minutes. So you think about it, if I go in there and I clear this thing, right? And it's gonna be 45 minutes before I get, or 30 minutes before I get back on it, and I clear it and I'm done, I start clearing and I'm done, and it's 1 o'clock. I'm not getting back on that panel until 1:30. And that will drive some people crazy. They're like, dude, there's no way. There's no way. It's the reducer and the hardener that is keeping the product open that long so you can let it breathe that long, right? So you're using 90-degree reducer, 90-degree hardener, and it's 70 degrees. So you're letting it cook very, 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 very slow. Very slow. Very slow. Very slow. Then, now we got 3 coats. Do the 4th coat, and then go there. On the 5th coat, I reduce it by 10% more. So if the clear mix is 2 to 1 to 1, I reduce it by 2 to 1. I mix it 2 to 1 to 1, and then I reduce it like 5% more, right? Just give it a little bit more reducer, just a little bit. And I go in there, not much. I don't want to water it down. I just give it a little splash, a little more. And I go in there and I put my next coat on there. Then I wait 30 minutes. And then I mix up my next batch of clear. Same way, 2 to 1 to 1 1/4, 1 1/2, whatever. I just reduce it like 5% more, all right? And then I go in there and I put my 5th coat on. I wait 45 minutes. I sit in there and I don't go nowhere. I just wait. And then I go in there and I mix up my last coat, and then I spray it. On my last coat, the same way, 2 to 1 to 1, and I give it an extra little 5% of reducer just because I need it to stay open longer, because you want the last 2 coats to stay open longer so all the gases underneath can get out before it crusts over so you don't have any solvent pop. And then you put the last coat on there, you walk out, you're done, and you don't do nothing else. You leave the airflow running. When I cleared the last coat of clear last night around 7:30, I left the fans running until about 1:30, 2 o'clock this morning. I did not cut them off so the fans ran from 2 o'clock yesterday to 2 o'clock in the morning. The fans ran for 12 hours nonstop. I walked back down there about 9, a little bit after 9. I had that friggin' moth that landed in it, and I had that little hard-shell beetle that got on the driver's side or the passenger side, and it's in the last coat of clear. I don't understand why they go in there. It had stopped raining, and I knew it when it stopped raining at 7:30, 8 o'clock. The booth lights were out, but a bug, I don't know what it is, man. I don't know if they just love the way clear smells. It's like moth to a flame, buddy. It's okay, it's fine. I picked him out, or her out, with a pair of tweezers, and then let it ride. What I did do is I mixed up a little bit of reducer, and I went in there with my little LPH 80, and I dusted a little bit of reducer over the tracks where the bug was at to let that reducer soften up that clear where he tracked it up, or she cracked it up, and let it lay down a little bit flatter, so when I come back to block sand it, so I can buff it, or cut and buff it, or paint correction, whatever you want to call it, it cuts it out. Now, same thing. So if it's 70 degrees, that's the flash times. Now, let's move the temperature up to 80 degrees. Now my flash times have increased by half, okay? Now let's run it up to 90 degrees, right? So it's 90 degrees in the booth. I got 90 degree reducer, and I got 90 degree hardener. My flash times go back to what the P sheet said, 10 to 15 minutes, because that's what temperature it is. So if it's 90 degrees and you're using 90 degree hardener and 90 degree reducer, then your flash times are 10 to 15 minutes, depending on how wet or how dry you spray it, right? If it's 80 degrees and you're using 80 degree hardener or medium hardener, and you're using 80 degree reducer, then your flash times are 10 to 15 minutes. A lot of people in collision work, a lot of people don't stack clear because you want to be in and out and you're not using high solids, and you want to get in there and get out. And most of the time in collision world, you're using production clear anyway, and it's got very, very solid, low solid content. It's less than 25% solids, and it's also very, very fast drying. So there's some clears out there that you can clear a bumper cover, and in 15 minutes you can cut and buff it, and within an hour you can put it back on the car and it's gone. That is production clear. I am not talking about production. I am talking about custom. That is completely different. Now, let me catch up on the comments, and I'm gonna go to the next section. So more coats, you add slightly more reducer. Yes, TJ, just a little bit. Hard. Rush it and you'll have what I had last week. Damn fly. All right, checking out for this. I wouldn't pay a lunch. I wouldn't pay a lunch on Friday. Bill, I don't know what I don't know what you're talking about. I'm running these trucks. You should be delivering jobs right now, not talking. You should be delivering jobs right now, not talking about paint shop. You should be delivering jobs right now, not talking about paint shop. Bill, I don't know what you're talking about. And honestly, I don't even think you know what you're talking about. Do you even know what you just said right now? You should be delivering jobs right now, not talking paint shop. Let's see, Lee. What does a painter make in a good shop per? All right, so making money. Bill, I don't know what you're talking about. Who you referring to? Making money. What? Bill, what you talking about? I'm about to fall asleep. Well, apparently you still commenting, so it must, whatever. So, let me go back and read this son gun, what this son gun said to me. I wouldn't pay a lunch on Friday. You should be delivering jobs right now, not talking about paint. All right, so let's talk about this. Now I know Metal Art talked about this. Man, there is a glare. There is a glare. I don't know if it's that light. Metal Art was talking about this the other day, and I don't deliver shit. Hey, Bill, I don't deliver nothing. I don't deliver jobs. I don't deliver jobs. That's not a service that I offer. I don't deliver jobs, but I appreciate you interested. I don't deliver jobs. Jobs come to me. People put jobs on tractor trailers and ship them across the country to me. So I don't deliver jobs. Anyways, So Metal Art Customs, I know he was talking about the other day, flow coat, right? And there's a lot of guys out there that do flow coat. And if that works for you, that's great. And if you don't know what flow coating is, no, I do collision work. I can do it all. And let's give Bill his 5 minutes. Let's give Bill his 5 minutes of fame right quick. Bill, I've been doing this for over 35 years. Every day is class day. I've been an instructor at the college on a college level for over 20 some years plus. I've been doing this for over 30 some years plus, right? I have probably backed up to the curb more than you went straight in your life. So if you want me to toot your horn, I'm tooting your horn. I do collision work. I know all about it. I can teach you ICAR, ASCs. I can do every bit of it, right? I can give it every bit of it. I can do it, right? I do restoration work. I can teach you how to TIG, MIG, stick. I can teach you how to do everything, right? Every single thing. I can tell you all the chemicals of it. I can tell you how to mix it. I can tell you the chemistry. I can teach you how to mix paint. I can show you the color palette of it. I can tell you how to read a color wheel. I can do every single bit of it. What's me making a week got to do with anything? See, you're wrapped up on me making deliveries and me telling you what I make a week. I don't worry about what I make a week. I do the job, I get paid. So that is irrelevant. If you want to know what a body technician makes, just Google it. Just Google it. Just look up Google, and Google will tell you what the average rate of a body shop technician makes in whatever state you want to look in. It's a wonderful thing. But I'm not telling you that. So, but anyways, so let's get back. Hold on a second. Did I miss something? Money, that's what it's all about. Money. Hey. Let's see. Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. So let's talk about flow coat, right? I know a lot of people, if you hadn't hit that subscribe button, hit that subscribe button. Hit that notification bell. I think we're about 165, 170 from 4,000. So I'm going to bring this topic up because Metal Art Customs was talking about it the other day, and somebody was asking him, and in his live chat feed that he was doing, he was talking about flow coat. So let's talk about flow coat. What is a flow coat? A flow coat is where you go in there and you put 3 coats of clear on your on your job, right? So let's give this bed for an example, right? Let's say I was going to flow coat it, right? There's a couple of ways to do that. And the ways I'm going to explain it to you is the ways that people I know that I've worked with or worked beside in the industry on how they were taught and what their definition of flow coat is versus the next person. This one person that I know, he come from upstate, around where Metal Art came from. He come from upstate. And he used Glazereth, right? His flow coat technique was really not a flow coat. It was like over reducing it. That's what he considered a flow coat because that's how he was taught. I'm not saying that's wrong and I'm not saying that's right. I'm just saying that's how he was taught. So that's the first way I'm going to explain it to you. So he would go in there and he says his boss man taught them to go in there and put 3 good medium wet coats of Glazer's Clear, right? Go in there, put 3 good coats of Glazer's Clear down. Put 3 good coats down, right? At high pressure. When I say high pressure, I'm talking the industrial standard. What they teach you in school is 26 to 28, maybe 29 PSI on spray, right, on spray. When I say high pressure, I'm talking 36, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45. I'm talking high pressure. I doubt that. I doubt that. Hey, you want to check resumes? Or you want to talk resumes or you want to talk credentials? Which one you want to do? I promise you, you don't want to go up against me. I promise you. I promise you. So, the thing about that is, the way he was taught, and they've done high-end, I'm talking high-end cars. The way they were taught was to over-reduce the last two coats to make it lay out super flat at high pressure. Do I consider that a flow coat? Flow coat is over-reducing the clear, but some people that I know do it a different direction. Like Metal Art said that way he done it the other day, I've heard other people do it that way. So my friend that at the time, that when we worked together, he would go in there, he'd put 3 coats of clear down at high pressure. He used a Nawada. He would, he could go in there and put 3 medium wet coats down at high pressure, right? And then he would let that flash off. Then he would mix it. Yeah, go ahead, Elko. Then he would go in there and he'd mix up the last 2 coats and he would over-reduce it by 10, 15%, right? So if it mixed, so let's say it mixed 2 to 1 to 1, right? So he'd mix it 2 to 1 to 1, and then he would go in there and he would over-reduce it, meaning he'd mix it 2 parts clear, 1 part hardener, 1 part reducer. Let's say he had 10 ounces of clear, right? He would reduce it by 15%, right? 15% more. So he's already mixed it 2 parts clear, 1 part hardener, 1 part reducer. He would reduce it another 15%. And then he would go in there and he would spray it on there at high pressure. High pressure, fan wide open, 75% overlap, and he would go in there and he'd put another coat of clear on there. Then he would let that flash off and he would go in there and he'd mix up the last coat of clear, which would be the fifth coat, and he would over-reduce it like 20%. So he'd mix it 2 parts clear, 1 part hardener, 1 part reducer, then he would reduce it 20% more. And he would go in there and he'd spray the last coat on there, which would be 5th the time he'd been in there, and then he'd walk out. And then they would let that set. They wouldn't bake it. I'm not a fan of baking. He would just let that run, and then after it's done, then the next day they would turn the heat on in the booth to 100 degrees, and they would let it stay at 100 degrees the day after for 1 hour at 100 degrees. Then they would turn the heat off. They would let it cool down on its own. They wouldn't open the doors. They leave the fans on. They let it cool down for 1 hour. Then they would roll it out, and they'd set it in a corner, and they'd set some fans up, right? And then they would set in the corner, and then they'd keep fans on it, and they'd let it gas off for at least 2 weeks, right? Then he said that they would put it back in the booth after 2 weeks. They would cut it at 1,000. They would cut the whole car in 1,000. Then they would run the booth again for 1 hour at 100 degrees to gas out any solvents that was left. They'd let it cool down on its own. They'd roll it back out onto the shop floor. They'd let it set for another week, and then they would cut it from 1,000 all the way up to 8,000, and then they would polish it. That's how they done it. Now, the way that Metal Art said that he has done it in the past, you go in there, you put 3 coats of clear on it, you let it set for a week or 2, you cut it open, you go ahead and block it for like 800 or 1,000. You block the whole car, truck, hood, whatever you're doing. Then you take it back in the booth, you mix up your clear again, You over reduce your clear. So if it mixes 2 to 1 to 1, you mix it by 2 to 1 to 1, and then to reduce it by an extra 5% or a cap or 10%, you go in there, you put 3 coats of clear on it, and then you leave it, and you come out, and then you cut that from 1,000 all the way up to 3,000, whatever, and then you polish it, right? So that's 2 different ways that I know other people do flow coats, right? And then they go from there. Now, the only problem that I see doing it the second way is you are cutting the clear, and then you're over reducing it, you're watering it down, so you have more solvents in the clear and less product. So let's say that if you mixed it 2 to 1 to 1, and you went in there and you put 1 medium wet coat on, and it builds, we'll just do an even number, or just do a number. Say you go in there and you put 1 medium wet coat down, and it's 10 mils wet. You got your wet gauge, right? You spray 1 medium wet coat on there, it's 10 mils wet. All right? You take your little mil gauge, you put it over there in a non-disclosed location, and it's 10 mils wet, right? And then you check it when it's dry, and let's say it's 5 mils dry, right? It'll say this on the P sheet. I'm just throwing out these numbers, right? That means that you lost 5 mils during the evaporation process of drying. Drying and curing are 2 different things. Something can be dry to touch, but it's not cured, right? So you have drying and then you have cured. So let's say it's 10 mils wet, a wet bed, and then when it's cured and it's done shrinking, everything shrinks. Everything shrinks. If a company says their product don't shrink, they are a liar. Everything shrinks. And the reason why it shrinks is because you got all these solvents that's in this product. And them solvents are gassing out. And as they're gassing out, everything is tightening it up. It shrinks. That's where you get orange peel. That's where you get the little waviness. This bed out here is slicker than shit right now. But in 2 weeks, it won't be that slick. It'll still be slick, but there'll be a little bit of texture to it, just a little bit, because all the solvents have gassed out, and the only thing you have left is your solids. So, with that being said, when you over reduce something, let's say you mix it 2 to 1 to 1, all right? And you spray it, and it's 10 mils wet, 5 mils dry. Let's say now you mix it 2 to 1 to 2. You over reduce it by 1 whole part. Now you have more solvents and less clear. So then when you go to spray it on there, you're going to have more solvents to come out with less clear. Does that make sense? So you have less product on the panel because majority of the product was solvents, and the solvents gassed out. So you're basically watering down your clear. So you'd have to put more coats on to achieve it, to make it the coverage for the UV protection. Because most clears says it on there for best UV protection, at least 3 to 5 mils left after it's been cut and buffed. So let's say you put a coat of clear on there and it's 5 mils dry. And you put another coat of clear on there and it's 5 mils dry. Now you have 10 mils to work with, and then you cut and buff it, right? You cut and buff it. And let's say you cut 4 mils off of it to make it flat. So 4 from 10 is 5. So you're right there at that window where they recommend having at least 3 to 5 mils of clear for the best UV protection. So if you go in there and you over reduce your clear and you mix it 2 to 1 to 2, 2 to 1 to 2, 2 to 1 to 2, you got 2 parts clear, 2 parts reducer. So you've basically 2 and 2 is 0, right? If you take 2 away from 2, that's 0. So you basically washed it out. And then you go in there and you clear it. Even though you put it on there, you watered it down and then it evaporates out. And then you go to sand it, you're not going to have as much product on the panel that you wanted to have. It's a good thing. If you're going to do this a long time, you need a mil gauge or a micron gauge. You can get them pretty cheap on Amazon. And if you really want to see how much clear you're taking off, it would have been really, really good to see on that 63 Biscayne that Metal Art was doing at his shop. Now, when you do a micron gauge and you put a micron gauge on there, it's going to tell you from the top of the clear all the way to bare bones, right? It's going to give you the total thickness, right? But you can kind of figure out what you have, right? You're going to kind of figure out what you have. So let's say Metal Art on that Biscayne, right? He goes up to the quarter panel and he sticks his micron gauge on there, and let's just say he's got 20 microns, right? 20 microns, right? Or just let's say 20 mils, right? A mil thickness is the thickness of a cigarette pack. So you boys out there are smokers, that little plastic bag that your cigarettes are in, if you take that plastic bag out and you put it in between your fingers and you do that right there, that is 1 mil thick. That is 1 mil thick. So when I'm using Metal Art because he just done that 63 Biscayne. Let's say he takes that micron gauge or that mil gauge, he puts it up to the side of the car and it reads 20 mils. That's from bare metal all the way to the last coat of clear. That's 20 mils. That's really not that bad, all right? Now, he knows what clear he sprayed. So here's where the math comes involved. If he knows that Glazer's clear that he sprayed, let's say it says one coat of this clear is 2 to 3 mils thick, right? And he said that he put 3 mils on there, right? Or he put 3 coats on there, right? So let's just say it says when it's dry, he has 3 mils per coat, right? He puts 3 coats on there. So 3 times 3 is 9. So he has 9 mils, plus or minus, of clear over his paintwork. 9 mils, right? So if he goes up with that micron gauge or that mil gauge, however how you want to set it up, and you stick it up to the side of the car and it says he's got 20 mils, then he knows at least 8 to 9 mils of that 20 is clear, right? So this is what he can do. He can do the section of that quarter. He blocks it out with 1,000 grit. He does that whole quarter in 1,000 grit. He squeegees it off and it's all done in 1,000. He takes that micron gauge and he sticks it back up there and he checks it. And let's say when he started, he was at 30 mils, right? And now let's say he's at 28 mils. And he's at 28 mils. He's at 27 and a half. He's at 29. Whatever it is, you take that number, you get an average of that. So if he started out with 30 mils from start to finish, from bare metal all the way to clear, he had 30 mils of product stacked. From epoxy, primer, bodywork, sealer, base, and clear. He's got 30 mils, right? He knows that he's got 9 mils of clear before he hits color, plus or minus. You want to leave at least 4 mils for UV protection, right? So if he's got 9 mils and he wants to leave at least 5 for UV protection, he can only cut off 3 mils plus or minus to still be in the safe zone, right? So if he blocks that thing out with 1,000 and he goes and checks it and he's at 28 mils, 29 mils, all right, he's down to 2 mils. Then he goes all the way up to 3,000 grit and he checks it and he's got 1.5 mils left at 3,000. Now he's got to get his buffer out and buff that last 1.5 mils to get the shine where he's at. And he buffs that whole quarter panel and he checks it and he's got 0.5 mil within margin of being at 5. So he's got like 5.5 mils over that bodywork or over that paintwork for UV protection, right? So that is why it is crucial to know what you're spraying, how you're spraying, and how much you can cut off. Because if you just get on there damn banana crazy and start just block sanding, well, I'm just gonna get this damn thing straight, and you don't put enough meat on the bone, you're gonna cut through into your paint. Now, this right here is really gonna blow your mind. I know a guy that bought a brand new truck, brand new, 2024, brand new on the lot last year, brand new. He's a paint and body guy. He took the mill gauge and he went around and checked the car. You can Google this on YouTube and see other people doing this. He mill gauged the car. That son of a gun was 2 to 3 meals. 2 to 3 meals from the clear to the bare metal. 2 to 3 meals from bare metal to paint. That means primer, base, and clear all together was 3 meals. That's why you can't wet sand and polish a brand new vehicle, because there's nothing on the bone. 1 mil is like 25.2 microns or something like that. There's nothing on the panel. You can't. That's why you can't get one of them orbital buffers from Harbor Freight and go out there and want to wax and polish your car, because you'll burn through. You'll burn through the bare metal. Just like that, lickety split. You'll burn through. That's why they tell you to keep your car waxed and polished. Waxed and polished. Because the wax that you put on there is like sunscreen. Think about it. If you ginger and you light skin and you go to the beach and you don't put no damn sunscreen on, you're going to look like Larry the Lobster off a damn SpongeBob. So you're going to have to put some damn SP50 on or some SP75 on to keep your damn ginger ass from getting burnt. And your little babies, right? You're going to have to do that. That's why you have to put wax on your car. That's why you go around and you see these cars that are 10 years old and the shit's peeling off like it's got sunburn. It's because there's nothing there to protect it. There's nothing. There's no think about it. There is no sunscreen. There is no sunscreen on it. Yeah, Naomi, there is no sunscreen on there. So you're going to look like Larry the Lobster off of SpongeBob. All blistered up and shit, sunburnt. I was at the gas station a while ago. Girl pulled up to the gas pump. She had this white car, and the whole damn hood and the roof of the car was just delaminated like hell. She's sitting there pumping gas. And I wanted to say, you need some sunscreen? Because she wouldn't know what the hell I was talking about. Car just delaminating like hell. My sister had a brand new Honda that was 2 years old. She went through an automatic car wash, not the ones with the fingers. She just went through one that just blows the air on it, and it was silver. Brand new. She had it like 2 years. She called me and she said, hey, look, my car's messed up. And I was like, what's wrong with it? She said, I went through the automatic car wash to wash my car off, and my damn hood is in bare metal. And I was like, what? So she come over and I looked at it. I took my air blower, brand new car, took my air blower and blowed the paint right off the hood, the bare bones. I said, you better take it back to the Honda place. It was like, she had it like 18 months. It was brand new car. Brand new car. I mean, there could have been a lot of reasons why it done that, you know, poor prep, poor this, whatever. But it blowed off. I mean, the paint was thinner than a piece. I mean, it was just super thin. So I went through some of those. Yeah. So once it starts delaminating, there's no fixing it. There's no fixing it. If it starts delaminating, you got to strip it all off. Once it starts breaking down, you can't save it. You can't save it. You got to just take a plastic razor blade, scrap that shit off all on down the floor, and start all over. Red Chili Pepper Red Chevrolet. Red Chili Pepper Red was bad. Back in the day, Ford had a recall like early 90s. They had a lot of delaminating issues. And the way they used to check them was, you brought your truck, your Ford truck, you would bring it into the dealership. They would take duct tape and put it on the side of the vehicle. They put duct tape on it, and then they would jerk the duct tape like you getting your daggone bikini wax. And if the paint jerked off of it, they would send it back to the paint shop to get painted. But let's say you had a white truck or a red truck or a blue truck and it wasn't two-tone. When you got that sucker back, it'd be two-tone. Because what they would do is they would just tape up what needed to be painted, paint another color on it, and put the rocker trim on it, and now you got a two-tone. So yeah, Woody, yeah. In the 90s, actually it was the early 90s. all the way through the early 90s, all the way in the 90s, in the 2000s. Hondas was bad with their silvers, and GM was bad with their red chili pepper red, and the red would get cooked so much it would turn pink. It would look like a rose pink. So yeah, in the 80s too. Yeah, those 80s trucks. Hey, Metal Art, you remember those 80s trucks? I know you did it. Put that duct tape on the side of it and snatched it off, and the whole damn side would come off with color. Yeah, just just stack paper up, man. I mean, and it was just poor prep, poor paint. It was a lot of stuff, man. It was a lot of stuff. But a lot of vehicles got trashed because of that, because it was just poor prep. And you only fixed what you had to fix. You didn't fix nothing else, because Ford Motor Company wouldn't pay to paint your whole truck. And I know some guys that, the trucks, if they done it that way, like if they went around and jerked it, and let's say majority of the truck, the paint ripped off, they would just total the truck out and give you a new truck, and then send that truck to death row, to auction block. And that son of a gun would go somewhere, and some kid would get that son of a gun, run it through a damn field like nobody's business, and go from there. I know this guy, I do a lot of business for him, and he's a Ford guy, and he said that he ended up getting a whole brand new truck because it done like that all over, and they said, we'll just give you a new truck, and they just give him a new truck. But yeah, that GM white was bad too, Lee. That was another bad color. That Arctic white, I think, an Olympic white. There was Arctic white, Olympic white. That was another one. So if you're going to stack clear, back to what we was talking about. If you was going to stack clear, you have to increase your flash times. You have to increase your flash times. Now, if it's over 85 degrees, I do not stack clear. All right, so PPG makes a reducer. It's called, well, they changed all the DTs to Nexen, but it used to be called DT 898, all right? And 898 had retarder in it. And retarder, I don't like using that in anything. I don't like to use pot life extender. I don't use fisheye eliminator. I don't use any of that crap. None of it. Don't use none of it. Don't use none of that Sequel shit. Don't use none of it. None of it. Because if you use fisheye eliminator in your sealer, you got to use it in your base. You got to use it in your mid coat. You got to use it in your top coat, and you got to use it in your clear. If you start using it, you got to use it all the way to the end. If you don't, you go looking for trouble. So why not just fix the problem? If your compressor is spitting oil, fix it. Put you a daggone water. Fix your system. Don't put a Band-Aid on it. I don't put those fisheye eliminators on the end of my gun. I don't do any of that crap. The more stuff that you have to add to it to stop doing something, just fix what it's doing. Like if you're getting fish eyes in your paint, fish eyes is caused from solvents, or not from solvents. It's called from petroleum base. Armor All, WD-40, anything with petroleum base in it, that's where fish eyes are coming from. Solvent pop is from where you get on your product too late and you crust over and the solvents can't get out. They're not going to go through the metal. They got to come through. They're going to the least passive resistance. So they're not going to go through the metal. They're coming up. And if they go up and down, up and down, up and down, they build up enough pressure, they're coming out. They're going to pop. And that's where you get solvent pops or blisters or delamination, whatever you want to call it. But fish eyes and solvent pop are not the same. Then you got wrinkle, right? If you get on a product too fast, it wrinkles. Or if you get on it too late, it wrinkles. Like sealer's bad about it. If you don't get on, sealer's got a hardener in it. If you use a 2K, I recommend using 2K sealer. Don't use no 1K crap. It's junk. Don't use it. It's junk. Don't use 1K. It's junk. But sometimes when people get like brand new bumper covers and then they say that they're primed, but you don't do a prime test to see if they're primed, and you go in there and you spray over that shipping paint, that shipping primer, that's not actually primer, it's actually just to put it on there, it will wrinkle up, the wrinkle window. So then you got the wrinkle window where you got on it too late or too soon or too wet, and then it wrinkles. The only way to fix it is let it completely dry. You're done for the day. Let it completely dry, sand all that crap back off, and start all over. If you get a brand new bumper cover, ambient air can cause fisheye. Explain to me how ambient air can cause fisheye. Ambient air can cause fisheye. Please explain that. I strip aftermarket parts the best I can. Yeah, Metal Art, I said that the other night. That electronic E-coat is junk. It's junk. And I got a manual over there. I got a PPG manual on there. Went to school in Orlando. Got higher education through the PPG guide. Also, BSF says the same thing when I was at Petty's. You do not have to remove the E-coat. You just wash it with a wax and grease remover, and you can spray right over the top of it, and you can go on with it. Now, so, well, Bill, that's not the same. You said ambient air can cause fisheye with no explanation. Then you said a diesel truck outside your paint booth running will cause fisheye. That's not ambient air. Ambient air temperature is in this room. The ambient air in this room is 98 degrees. So that's kind of misleading when you say ambient air temperature will cause fisheye and then end the sentence. You know, that's like catch bait. That's like that's like hook and switch. That's not right. Newcomb Garage has a better understanding of that. Polluted air will cause fisheye if a diesel truck is outside running. Matter of fact, anything outside running, suck it. If you have anything that's contaminating your fresh air supply, yes, you can have issues. Yes, you can have issues. But ambient air does not cause fisheyes. A diesel truck, but my question is, who in the hell's got a diesel truck sitting beside their fresh air intake on their paint booth sucking in diesel air? I don't. I know Metal Art don't. I know Elko don't. I know Woody don't. I mean, I see what you're doing, but you know, if a frog had wings, he wouldn't bump his ass when he hopped neither, but I ain't seen no damn frogs around here with wings attached to them unless they drink some Red Bull. Nice try. Come back with another one. All right, let's catch up on some of these messages. Jim E., I don't know anything about the Ford Mavericks pickups. I haven't heard anything. Now, Metal Art Customs, he might have heard something. He's up in Ohio. He might have heard something about it. And Mexican Lee, he's in California. So he might have heard something about the paint on the Ford Mavericks. But me personally, no, I've not heard anything or heard anybody talk about them. Yes. Elko, I got your number, Elko. I'll help you set your air system up. New frog gigging special. I'm explaining to my daughter. Frog gigging? What should I type in to find spare parts? I think TJ's done answered that question. Are we asking like car questions? Yeah, 618. We just. Oh, Lee's in Texas? I thought he was in Cali. I'm sorry, Lee. I thought you was in Cali. What's up, Big Fish? Hey, if everybody ain't went over to Big Fish's page, go over to Big Fish's page. He got his wife's F100 done. He sent me some pictures today of it out in the grass. Y'all go check it out because this time last year, that thing was in a million pieces. A million pieces. So y'all get, yeah, TJ. I thought you and Elko done said that. Newcomb, painting car question. Yeah, man. I'll be on here for just a little bit longer. 5 o'clock. So we'll go 15 more minutes, and then I'm gonna go get me some pizzas. I'm in Fort Worth, Texas. I seen fish eyes when I went for. Eric, what would be the best cam? What would be the best cam for a 302 out of a Grand Marquis? Well, that right there, question 618 Honda. That depends on what do you want out of the 302 that come out of a Mercury Grand Prix Grand Marquis. What do you see? Okay, so there's a lot of moving parts there, right? I want it to sound nasty but make good power. Okay, what are we putting it in? Is it staying in the Grand Marquis? Are you putting it in a pickup truck? Are you putting it in a daggone Honda Chevette? Are you putting it in a Mustang? Are you putting it on a bicycle? 64 F1, 64 F250. Okay, so is it 4-wheel drive? Is it 2-wheel drive? What size tire are you running? See, here is a lot of problems that, and not just you. Here's what a lot of people say. I want it to sound good, I want it to look good, and I want it to drive. Okay, great. All right, are you running an automatic? Are you running a manual? What size tire are you running? What size gear ratio are you running? Are you running power brakes? Are you running electric brakes? Are you running manual brakes? Are you running an air conditioner? There is a lot of moving parts. Yeah, there is a lot of moving parts, right? 2-wheel drive, just Mustang wheels. Okay, so let me go ahead and fast track this for you, okay? And if anybody else wants to chime in, right? So if you're running an F250, Ford pickup truck, short bed, 2-wheel drive, and you're going to run a 28-inch tall tire, not the rim, the tire. So the OD of the tire is 28 inch. You can run a 20-inch rim and still have a 28-inch tall tire. You can run a 13-inch tire and still run a 28-inch tall tire. All right? So if you're running a 28-inch tall tire, what gear are you running in the rear end? If you want a good cruiser, 373 is a good gear. 355 is a good gear. Let's say you're going to run 373 gears with a posi unit, right? Meaning that it's limited slip. Meaning when you take off, the clutch packs in the Ford 9-inch is going to engage. You got both wheels peeling. You got number 11s, and then when you don't need both wheels pulling, one wheel is idling. So when you go to turn around a curve, it ain't going. And when you turn around the curve, it's not doing that, right? So if you're going to run a 28-inch tall tire, and you're running 373 gears. Now let's get up to the transmission. If you're running a manual transmission, then we're good to go. Then you're going up to the engine, all right? If you're running air conditioner and you're running power brakes, then you need a cam that is producing anywhere from 12 to 15 pounds of vacuum at idle. Meaning when the truck is sitting there idling and you put a vacuum gauge up to the engine, it is pulling at least 12 to 15 pounds of vacuum sitting there idling, right? That means that the cam is nice enough. They got that little ta, 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 ta. But it's also letting the cam produce enough vacuum so you can produce enough vacuum on your power brakes and all your vacuum solenoids that you have on the truck. Your cruise control, your air conditioner flap, your air conditioner actuators in the dash, your vacuum on your windshield wipers, if they're vacuum, your vacuum advance on your distributor. There's a lot of moving parts, right? A lot of moving parts. So you got 12 to 15 pounds of vacuum at sitting there at idling. What that means is you got enough vacuum of that thing idling that when you get on it, that it's going to make more vacuum because at idling, you're making 15, and under a load, you're going to make more. Therefore, it's producing enough vacuum to run all your accessories, power brakes, AC actuators, air conditioner controllers, all that stuff. Your vacuum advance on your distributor, every bit of that stuff. If you put, now let's back up, okay? Let's go back to an automatic, right? So now you got an automatic transmission in. Well, now you got to match the torque converter to the rear end gears, to the tire ratio, to the cam profile. So if you're running a cam that calls for a 28 stall, 2500 stall, then you need to change the torque converter to match the cam profile. You need a 25 to a 2800 stall converter in your transmission. So when your engine spins up to 2800 RPM, it locks in the torque converter. The torque converter locks up. Therefore, it's not sitting there slipping and you're not sitting there burning the pump up. Therefore, the torque converter is going to correlate with the rear end gear, which is 373. The 373 gear is going to correlate with a 28-inch tall tire, and all that is going to go together. And what transmission are you running? An AOD electronic or an AOD vacuum? Or if you're running, what is that, 700 or some shit, I don't know. You're gonna have vacuum modulars on your transmission. That goes back to the engine. You got to make sure the cam is making enough vacuum to feed everybody that's riding off of it. If the cam's not making enough vacuum at idle, then you have to put a vacuum canister on the engine so you have a stored section over here that is building up vacuum. So when you do need to run those accessories on there, you have a vacuum box or vacuum canister that is having a reserve vacuum to run your power brakes. The worst thing you want to have is an automatic. You get up to the stop sign, you put your foot on the brake, and the damn brakes ain't working, and the cam is hitting going, boom, boom, and the damn car or truck is trying to walk through the damn intersection because there's not enough vacuum on the engine to pull the brake booster, to keep the brake booster, to keep pressure on the brake pedal, to keep the brake master cylinder, to keep pressure on the brakes, and the damn truck or car is trying to walk through the damn intersection. You have to pop that pig up in the neutral so it can take vacuum so you're sitting there in traffic so it ain't sitting there trying to walk through the damn intersection. So there is a lot of moving parts when you're picking a cam. So when somebody says, hey, I got a 302 right here that's going in that box truck. I said, what do you want? I want it to sound good. I want it to look good. Okay, good. Well, just put a stage 2 cam in it. You don't have to run no torque converter. It still makes enough vacuum. It's going to sound good. It just, listen to that thing. That thing going tap, 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 tap. Oh, yeah, man, that thing sounds like the drum line over there at 8. It sounds like Roll Tide, baby. Roll Tide in the drum line. Tap, 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 tap. So that's good. It's a good driver. Now, if you want something that won't rip somebody's soul out, then you're going to have to change everything else. You're going to have to, if you go to anything over a stage 2 cam, depending on the profile of the cam, the lobe separation of everything, what the duration of it is, there is a lot of moving parts. So to dumb this down, not to say that to be mean, to dumb it down or simple it down, if you want to put this in an F250 and you're running a manual transmission, I would look for a cam that is a truck cam that makes good torque, has good sound, and it produces a lot of vacuum at idle. That's what I would do. Now, if it's an automatic, I would do the exact same thing. Whatever the stall converter is and whatever transmission you're running, let's say the stock stall in the transmission you have is 1,500 to 2,000 RPMs. Then that's what I would get I would match my cam to my torque converter, to my rear end gear, to my wheel size, my OD size. Now, let's say that F250 has a 308 gear in it, and you put a cam in there that matches the tire size and the gear ratio, and then let's say later on down the road, you don't like that, and you want to change the gears out to a 355. Guess what? You just changed the final gear ratio to that automatic transmission. So the last, let's say it's a 4-speed or 3-speed with no overdrive. So if it's a 3-speed, 1-to-1 ratio, meaning 1-to-1, meaning your last gear ratio is going to be 355 because that's the gear ratio. All right. So there is a lot of moving parts, but I'm just an old country bumpkin from the stick, Bill, and I don't know shit. Man, get out of here. But It's not that difficult, man. It's not that difficult. Don't get lost in the woods for the trees. Just call Summit Racing. Tell them what you have. Say, this is what I want. I want to keep a stall converter. I'm going to run a 28-inch tall tire. I'm running a 28-inch tall tire, and I'm running 373 gears. I want to produce enough vacuum so all my accessories work, so I don't have to run an external vacuum canister to keep all my shit running, and vacuum advance on my distributor. Now, if you're going fuel injection, you don't have to worry about the vacuum advance on the distributor, because the carburetor, and also the carburetor, if you're running a carburetor with a vacuum advance, you got to have vacuum through the carburetor to work your power valve, so you can power valve when you get on the gas, it pulls the power valve, so your 4-barrel comes in, and you can get and scoot up the road so you don't get run over, because us Chevy guys, we're going to just run right past you. So, how'd I do? Oh yeah, that truck Norse cam from Brian Tooley. Oh yes, sir. All right, let's catch up on. Let's check up on. Damn fly. All right, let's go back and see, because I didn't read the comments. Because if I read the comments, I'd get sidetracked. All right, so there it is. Tulu, what engine, master cylinder. Do a lot of testing cams. Yeah, that's a good suggestion, Newcomb. Yeah, just Google on YouTube different cam profiles and stuff like that. I thought I had a tot, and then I thought I had tap, and I have a miss, I believe. I got options. I got a few. My dad has teach me because I'm 13. Oh, then I just dropped a whole shitload of information on you, big dog. Man, I'm sorry if I ever went to Ford trucks going to Marquis frame. Yeah, well then, it sounds like you're in good hands. Yeah. Let's see. Thanks for the information today, brother. You spoke major facts and everything. Hey, I appreciate you, Lee. Mine don't use it. That's dope. 13-year-old doing research, staying here acting like he don't know. Yeah, 84. I didn't even see you, 84. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, man. I mean, he's 13, man. I mean, that's awesome, man. That's cool, man. There's more technology now for kids at 13 than it was for me all the way up into my mid-20s. I mean, I'm Gen X, so I got to see the transition through. You better be your ass home when the street light comes on. We're going to bust your head to the white meat, all the way up to the internet and being born. What's up, Elko? I had to scroll down on the product. I appreciate that, Zan. My cam got miles too. Naomi, what you talking about? I'd keep my 15 mud tires on my truck. Yeah, Summit take care of you. All right, hold on, Newcomb. I'll answer that question. Hold on, Newcomb. All right, Newcomb. So, Newcomb asked a question. Oh, yes. Oh, the street lights. Oh, yeah, I bet they was in Compton. I bet they was, Elko. All right, so this is the last question. All right, this is the last question. All right, so Newcomb said, advise on lace painting on a not flat surface. Okay, all right, Newcomb, what are you spraying? So, Newcomb, what are you spraying? What kind of flat surface? The side of a fender, a gas tank, a motorcycle gas tank, the fenders, the battery tray, a quarter panel. What are we talking about? So I know which way to go, because I don't want to. That's what's up. A lawnmower. All right, we're at 81 minutes. Are you still on here, Newcomb? Oh, no, oh, shit. metal art, you was for real. He's talking about a lawnmower. Oh, you for real talking about a lawnmower. Okay. Are you talking about like a riding lawnmower? Like are you talking about like the shell that covers the motor? Are you talking about the hood of a lawnmower? Damn, is that what we talking about? Are you talking about the hood of a lawnmower? I've painted some lawnmowers. I mean, hell, I'll paint you if you stand still. If you'll sit there long enough. Okay. All right. Now, is the shell metal or is it plastic? Is it metal? Will a magnet stick to it? It's a push mower. Will a magnet stick to it? Oh yeah, I seen him. Yes, Shirley. Okay, so you talking about like a Briggs and Stratton, that little metal cover that covers it. So it's plastic. Fuck. It's plastic. Okay. All right. Okay. I was gonna say if it was magnet, if it was metal. I was gonna say if it was Nukem. I was gonna say if it was metal, you could get some earth magnets, right? You could get some earth magnets. And they make earth magnets covered in rubber, right? So they won't scratch or nothing when you put them on there. You can get them on Amazon. You can get a shitload of them on Amazon. So let's say this boot, right? Let's say this boot is the engine cover for the lawnmower, or like my uncle would say, his Lonnie mower, right? And it was metal. You could drape the lace over the shell and then reach underneath the bottom side of it with the magnet and stick the magnet on it, right? And then just pull the lace pretty tight and then put a magnet on it and put a magnet on it. A lot of people get it. They get worried that the lace has to be like super, super tight. It don't have to be super, super tight. It just has to be touching it, right? And then if it's metal, right, you can pull it and put some earth magnets in places and put earth magnets in different places and pull it really, really tight, snug with no wrinkles and everything's flat. And then you get your air gun, you get your airbrush, or you get a small paint gun and turn your air pressure down really, really, really low. You can even do it with a rattle can, right? And just lightly dust it, right? It don't take but a mutt. Just take just a little bit and just lightly dust it, right? If it's not metal and it's plastic or a magnet will not stick, then a spray adhesive works, like 3M, right? Now, you have to be very, very careful and not put too much on it, right? So let's say you have the shroud for the lawnmower, right? Okay, you take, and I know this sounds crazy, right? Sounds crazy. You lightly spray, and I mean lightly, like lightly. You lightly dust the shell with 3M contact cement. 3M. It's in a black can, I believe. You lightly dust it. Then you take your lace and you lightly dust the backside of it. Since it's a contact cement, you have to let this one air out a little bit and let this one air out a little bit. Then you take and drape over the lace flat, right? You hold it up like a fruit roll up and then you drape it on there. And as you're draping it on there, you pull it tight, right? You pull it tight and then you drape it over and then you kind of just lightly, you don't want to smear it, it's dry. You want to lightly just put it over there and try to get all the wrinkles out of it the best you can. And then that's all you need to do. And then you lightly dust your color on it. Holy shit, big fish. That's moving. That's nice. You're going to like that, man. You deserve it. You deserve it, big fish. That's nice. All right, Nukem. And then you just lightly dust your color. You do your shading or whatever. And then you just peel the lace off. Just peel it off. And then you're done. And then when you go to clear it, don't hammer the clear on. Put a light tack coat of clear, right? Just lightly tack it. And what that's going to do is that's going to grab on to that 3M that's going to grab onto that 3M tack glue. And then after you lightly dust it, then just spray air on it and then put your next coat of clear on there wet. And what's going to happen is that solvents from that clear is going to melt that 3M contact cement of that adhesive spray. That's how you do it. But I've never, and if you don't want to do it that way, you can cut small sections of that lace out and you can put it up on the side, right? It don't have to be perfect. That's the thing about it, man. Lowrider painting, the reason why lowrider painting started is because it was messed up and they didn't have enough paint to fix the mess up. So they started spraying graphics over what was wrong, and then that trend started, and then it blew into a culture, and now it's global. So that's how lowrider paint jobs started. It was a screw up, and they didn't have enough paint to fix it, so they just sprayed something. They just made graphics over top of it. So no, yeah, there is no cleanup on it. You don't have to wipe it off or nothing. That's why I said you lightly dust your clear over it to grab a hold of it, and then you spray another wet coat, and the solvents will melt that 3M tack. Hey, I didn't believe it neither, but it'll do it. But I don't use it a lot. I use magnets. Yeah. So like, for example, Metal Art, if you're doing the roof of that 63 Biscayne, I would use burn it in. That's right, big fish. Burn it in, melt it in, whatever. Yeah, that's what burn it in, melt it in. On that 63 Biscayne Metal Art, that's what I would do. I would drape that son of a gun, and then on the edges, I would get rubber earth magnets. On the edges that you're going to shadow, the section that you're going to shadow anyway, so it doesn't matter. I would pull lace across. If I was going to do lace the top of that car, I would pull the lace really, really tight, and then I would put earth magnets in the corner. And I'm talking about good ones now. I ain't talking about one of them 1 pound ones. I'm talking the good ones, like 3-4 pound pull. You know, they're about the size of a nickel, and put them in the corners. And then I would pull that lace tight, and I would put the magnets in different locations, and I would pull it super tight, and then I would lightly dust over it. Low pressure. I mean, like maybe 4 or 5 PSI, and just lightly dust over the graphics, and then I would peel it off, and then I would go around and shadow my edges. But I hardly ever use the cement, the 3M contact cement spray. A lot of guys use it. I don't. I've used it before, but but on plastic, he's gonna have to use that. Yeah, magnets. Yeah, I would do a test panel first, nuke them with a small gun. Then, yeah, like a SATA 4400 mini jet, or an Awada LPH 80, or an airbrush, a small airbrush. Yeah, something small. The whole thing about the lowrider graphics and stuff like that is shadows. It's shadows. All right, boys and girls, I just got a text message. My pizza's gonna be ready in 10 minutes, so I appreciate every single one of you. Hope this helps somebody out. Tap in, drop it down, share. Remember what I said, boys and girls, don't worry about the man. Yeah, rattle can will work too. Practice. Remember what I said, boys and girls, don't worry about the man up the road or down the road. Sweep off it, front porch where sweeping off anybody else's. Put God first, let loose and drag. Peace. You too, Bill. Peace, love, and chicken grease. I'm out.